Good morning, world. Welcome to the Steel Guys November 18th episode. We're here to talk about what's been going on in the metals supply chain for the last 7 days or so since we last met last Tuesday. And there's a few things that have been going on. It hasn't been revolutionary that I know of, but we'll be putting this out to our LinkedIn channel, our YouTube channel, The Steel Guys. That's called The Steel Guys on YouTube. Go there and subscribe right now and be notified of our next event when we get it published. Actually, our next event's already published, so it's actually 1 week today, November 20th. No, that'll be the 18th. Did I say the 18th? If I did say the 18th, I'm sorry. It's 11th today, and it'll be the 18th next week. We'll be monitoring the chats, the comment sections on the LinkedIn and the YouTube section, the comments on the YouTube channel, and also if you're live with us on the Zoom webinar, we will be monitoring. In fact, I better put that up there real quick, get the chat up there so I can see that as well. And with that, let's say hello to Scott Glenn. In fact, I got to get his cam up. I forgot to refresh that here a minute ago. I apologize for that. I thought we had everything set up. We had practiced a little earlier, so let me copy that link and get it over here. You might be able to hear him, but we can't see him. You got to be able to see him. Okay, refresh. And there he is. So hello, Scott.
Hey, good morning, everyone. You can see me, hopefully, and hear me. I'd like to start out by, in the United States here, it's Veterans Day, so I'd like to throw out a shout out to all people who have participated in the military in one way or another. For those that have lost their lives to protect our freedom, I sincerely appreciate it.
Amen to that.
Yep.
Amen to that. Happy Veterans Day to everybody, especially you veterans there.
Yes, indeed.
We do appreciate your service.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
And with that, let's get started. Kind of the way we're going to handle this again. And we've kind of got this broken up. Our prep notes kind of are broken down into some key recent developments. I'll just kind of look at those and share those, some key recent developments from the past 7 days with the news articles out there. Then we'll run into the supply chain. Again, the purpose of this is our steelguys.steelrep.com networking community that we have developed. It's in response to that. It's set up for busy professionals in the supply chain of metals. And we get together like this inside the community and as well as outside to discuss this information. So, and again, this is just a regular thing to kind of promote that. However, we do other special events and things like that within that. And one of the special events, Scott, you want to kind of share a little information on our newest development, the A312 pipe mill?
Sure. Yeah, we have been working with a new manufacturer of stainless steel welded pipe. They're not a manufacturer yet, but they have a new manufacturing facility that's under construction as we speak, anticipated to be in full production in the first quarter next year. Well, beginning the second quarter next year is the goal that they've got in place. So we're really excited about that and promoting that into the United States. So if anybody has any need or desire for any stainless steel welded pipe, we'd love to hear from you. We've got a newsletter that we're throwing out. I think we're doing it every other week, right, Jim? On an update on the construction progress?
Every other week, and it's not necessarily a newsletter. It's more just a construction progress. We're putting out updates and trying to keep everybody informed of the progress we have going on there. The groundbreaking and we just started that in the last couple of weeks. So the foundation being built and the equipment's being ordered, things like that. And we do put the updates out there. So, and the whole theory there is to get you updated. So when we do hopefully begin production in April next year, you can get a trial order on with us if you're interested. It is import product. It'll be an import. The mill is being built in the Dominican Republic, so it's very close to the United States. good trade policies with the Dominican Republic. It'll be, the shipping lead times are a lot faster than the Asian market and the Central. Anywhere else, it's actually one of the closest import places you can kind of get. So just keep that in mind as we get going here. So
if someone wants to get in touch with us regarding the update, Jim, what's the best approach there?
Good question, because we have a link to a form that you can fill out. You can just email one of us too. That's, if you're listening to this, Jim Glenn at steelrep.com. Just let me know you're interested in the newsletter, and I'll get you signed up and on the list, so you can, every time we publish it, you'll get a copy of it. You can reach out to Scott Glenn at steelrep.com as well, and there's 2 N's on that Glenn, by the way. Scott or Jim Glenn, all one word.
And certainly, if you're listening to this and you perhaps are not the person that's might be interested in that, if you know somebody who is, please have them reach out to us or let us know who they are. We'd love to reach out to them as well. So we'd like everybody to know about what's going on and how the process is developing.
Sounds good. So I guess with that, let's get into the key developments for this week. And again, anybody reaches out to us, we'll probably put that information a little later on in the broadcast here as well, how to get a hold of us. But the key developments for the last week, there's really about 5 of them that kind of mentioned here in our prep notes. The ionic rare earths from Australia. The U.S. Geological has updated a survey on critical minerals. Ferro, Mali, and Mali markets have been, in the ferro mines are holding back output. There's a supply freeze in those minerals there. And the Vendetta Resources launched a U.S. domiciled unit called Copper Tech, aimed at backing America's copper supply chain via assets in Zambia, which is high-grade copper and cobalt. And the silver is showing renewed rally momentum. And analysts are cautioning that the increased supply and weaker demand makes the market vulnerable. No, I didn't see a lot there in the recent developments. Last week, our biggest in the carbon flat rolled market was there were some price increases, and they strengthened. I think even after our broadcast, there was a couple mills that had done it, and I think a few others followed after that last week. So,
right, yeah, we are seeing and hearing about some uptick in the order input, and lead times are getting pushed out a little bit, which obviously both of those equal the mill's opportunity to raise prices a little bit. It seems as though that they are sticking, but we'll see. Because obviously the big T word, tariffs is still out there as kind of an unknown. I know that the Supreme Court's still discussing whether the tariffs are legal or not for the president to impose them. So, that's still kind of an unknown factor in the marketplace right now. So we'll see how that kind of goes. But watching gold and silver prices, I think they're both hitting record levels at this point in time, aren't they?
Still, yeah.
Yeah.
And continues that progress. It's interesting, that tariff case. I haven't read in fact, probably, I don't get into the legal side of that and get to see the briefs and all that stuff. But, some of the comments I've heard and the opinions on that, and I was wondering, well, what's the problem with the president doing tariffs? I've heard the word tariff all the time. Well, I guess in the Constitution, the Congress is the only one that can levy taxes.
Right.
And then that's kind of considered a tax on an imported material. So they can also only do the spending, which is interesting as well, because the current administration continues to say that because there's this windfall of income from the tariffs, they're saying there's going to be a possible rebate to the U.S. marketplace. So he's spending money too. And again, I guess if it's going into the that part of the budget automatically, is he can spend it. But I don't know if he's just saying I'm going to get Congress to approve that spending, because they have to, right. All the income, all the taxes, and all the thing have to go through Congress. So I don't know what the the ruling, or I don't know what the legal argument is there. Have you heard anything on that, Scott?
No, I haven't heard anything about that specifically in terms of the spending. I've obviously heard the idea that it could happen, but the thing that was interesting, I was having a conversation with someone the other day, is like, well, my goodness, what happens if they're determined to be, he doesn't have the ability to issue the tariffs, and what a mess that would be in returning the money. But it was brought to my attention too, it's just like, is Section 232, I mean, that Section 232, the initial 25% was imposed back in the first term. I think it was in 2000, what was it, 18 or something
18,
like that?
yeah, 16, 18, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and so that's been in place. So are the 232s part of this question, or is it just the derivative tariffs, or just the random additional 10% on this country and additional 15% on that country, and those kind of things?
Well, it's not just steel either. It's on wine and machinery and whatever. So there's
cars and all those kind of things. It's not just Section 232. And I think the discussion that I had with this other individual was, I think that the 232s are not really part of this discussion. So
they can't. They shouldn't be at all, right? Mm-hmm. I think because that's a law, and it's a section in the code that was probably passed by Congress, but that only included X. And I don't know if there was a clause in there for the steel side of things that allows the president to change that. So we could say in the steel business, it might not even be an issue at all on these tariffs.
Except for the derivative products. But, I mean, that's something that we certainly don't.
They're not under the 232?
Yeah. Right. I don't believe they are. I think that's that additional tariff. But, again, if anybody out there has some input on that, we'd love to hear from you, because this is why we do this, is we want to create this discussion to get some input from people out there in the marketplace. If there's any knowledge out there, we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah. So,
but anyway, we'll see how that goes.
And back to the prep notes here, after those key elements that we talked about, the news elements, some of the implications that it has for the supply chain. We'll get into that, and then we'll ask a couple of questions. It says the rare earth deal and critical minerals list updated underscores how non-ferrous and specialty metals are becoming strategic, not just bulk steel. So that's an interesting implication. Upstream supply freezes like moly signal shifting dynamics. Suppliers may reclaim leverage when downstream mills are under cost/margin pressure. Upstream supply freezes signal shifting dynamics. Suppliers may reclaim leverage. So suppliers of those metals may reclaim leverage when downstream mills are under cost. So you're bringing the ore out, and you got the mill that processes it, and so those supply chains that are shifting the dynamics from the producing ore to but producing minerals to the mill that's refining it and melting it, or even further down where you've got the melted product, the ingots, and then they're going in and either remelting the slabs or to flatten it or put it into shapes.
Yeah, I would assume that that's probably not going to have a whole lot of an effect on base grade products, like carbon flat rolled and just basic stainless grades. But when you get up into the higher alloys, where the moly starts to get added, and 316 and up, and in some of the special alloys, and maybe will become a factor in that. I don't know what effect that will have.
Yeah, carbon, lithium, a lot of, not just the stainless side of things, but all the coppers and things like that. In these zones, So the precious metals remain subject to volatility. Structural demand may still be uncertain, so risk remains high. Structural demand. Not quite understand what's structural demand. Anybody out there? Structural demand? I don't understand that comment there. The precious metals remain subject to volatility. I got that. And then structural demand, as opposed to what kind of other demand?
Structural demand. I don't what they're referring to in the structural demand.
Just the demand may be uncertain, so risk remains high. Demand. I mean, I guess that's the base demand. Is that what you said? Structural. Anyway.
Sure.
For steel and ferrous change, while bulk materials get less headline traction, supply chain stresses on specialty inputs and critical minerals could ripple into broader steel/metal cost structures. Bulk materials get the headlines. Okay, supply chain stresses on specialty inputs. Now back to your point of the mollies and the things like that.
Right, it's gonna, the higher, special alloys and stuff like that, it might start to have an effect on the pricing on those type of materials.
Yeah. So the discussion questions we came up with here is so this with the U.S. expanding its critical minerals lists and deals ramping for rare earth processing. How could service centers and end users adjust sourcing strategies for specialty metals? So again, critical in the service centers. That's interesting. I don't know. It doesn't seem like the carbon flat rolled, the carbon or even the stainless flat rolled. I'm not sure that it got the critical minerals. Maybe the stainless has more to do with it again because it's got the elements, the critical minerals in there. I mean, how many critical minerals are in the carbon?
Some of the higher alloy people, I mean, even in the carbon side of things, especially alloys, 4000 series and stuff like that. It's where some of those elements start to play a factor in making some of those higher alloys, and even in the 321s, 347s, and all the way up to the alloy 20s and all that kind of stuff on the stainless side of things. What effect is it going to have on those? Still TBD, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess that's where the differences too, and that's why they're expanding the lists of alloys or minerals, because we used to think nickel is a commodity, more of a commodity, but it could be considered. It says go from a commodity to a critical mineral. Mm-hmm. So
right.
Yeah. So, given the copper supply chain developments from Vedanta. It's not Vendetta, Vedanta. Okay. What implications emerge for middle sectors beyond steel, such as battery, EV, grid sectors, and how might that influence the steel/metal market service centers? Given the copper supply chain developments, we don't spend a lot of time with the copper service centers on that, so I'm not as familiar with the copper supply chain, but I mean it's still a supply chain.
Right.
What is what was that deal? Was that deal refining some of it here in the U.S.? Was that the deal there on that Vedanta?
I really don't know what the deal was, but I mean it would seem to me as though that what the administration is trying to do is to make sure that we have access to some of those rare earth minerals, so we aren't hurt in the way of our production capabilities, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess the point there was the Vedanta launched a U.S. domiciled unit called CopperTech, aimed at backing America's copper supply chain via assets in Zambia, which is the high grade copper and cobalt. And I know that cobalt's pretty expensive at times. And I don't know. We've seen some of that in some strip for some of the components of high-end components, but that wasn't a large volume. It was high expense, high margin material or high cost material.
Right, high price per pound for sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And certainly, so Let's see, we got another one here. One last discussion question here is the silver rally, but vulnerability scenario. What can we learn for metal markets broadly about the supply chain mismatches and speculative risk? That's whether that's I guess that's in all of them all the times, right? I don't know whether we can. Have we learned anything over the years from the supply chain risks? Yeah.
Yeah, that's not just for silver, but for all metals and alloys and minerals and whatnot.
We got those risks. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well,
but, I mean, from our marketplace, I mean, I don't know what people are seeing out there, but we are seeing a little bit of uptick in the. I guess it's how do people refer to that cautious optimism that things are picking up a little bit. We're hearing that, so I don't know if everybody else out there is hearing that as well, but we'd love to hear your comments on that. Yeah.
The cautious optimism. We need to take a little survey. Maybe we can put a little survey together on that. On that note, maybe. Speaking of surveys, we need some help with the A312 market to kind of figure out how we're going to do our production on the new pipe mill in the Dominican Republic. So please reach out to us if you'd like to help us with a little market information on that. We're trying to collect some data on that. Also, as we want the construction update, we'll remind you again, the construction update email goes out every other week. We'll put one out, I think, today or tomorrow. For our first one, kind of with the introduction, and all you got to do is sign up for it. We're not blasting it out to everybody. We're only, if you want a copy of it, please let us know. Jim Glenn at steelrep.com or Scott Glenn at steelrep.com. And we'll get you a copy of that email, starting with our first one. Anytime you sign up between now and 2 weeks from now, and then we'll get you the update when it comes out in 2 weeks. Yeah,
and then if you do sign up for that, there is obviously an additional part of that, which Jim, you just mentioned a moment ago, is the survey. So get the update on the construction, and if you can help us out with the survey, there is an opportunity to click on a link there as well.
Yeah, we'll be putting that out here in a little bit.
When we get that all put together.
Yeah.
When we get it all put together.
That should be within the next week or so. We should have that prepped and ready, hopefully before the second edition of the update comes out.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Well, super.
Okay.
That's all I got on the prep notes here. Thank you very much for your time. We look forward to seeing you next week. Next week, the 18th. Again, I'll get those dates right. I don't know if I missed that on the first go-round or not, but our next week is
10 o'clock Central Time. Yeah.
10 o'clock Central, the 18th of November. And then we'll get up to the Thanksgiving week would be the week after that, right?
Yes.
Okay. And I don't know what we're going to do that week. We'll probably do something early in the week. Maybe do it on a Monday or something like that.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. Yeah, figured it.
Once again, thank you for everybody, all veterans out there, and enjoy your Veterans Day. And please make sure to pass along your gratitude to anybody who served in the military or anybody who's lost anybody in service.
Amen. Amen to that.
Much.
God bless everyone. Yes. All right.
Have a great day, everybody. Thanks.
See you. Thanks.